It would, actually. It would.
Pues le puso la placa, señora.
que disfrute mucho las enseñanzas.
This one, okay, thank you.
Good.
So we'll go through the full opening prayers for this starting session, beginning on the first page with All Mother Sentient Beings. All Mother Sentient Beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path of liberation and all-knowingness, may they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in a state of the most perfect and precious Buddhahood. Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. All sentient beings, limitless as the sky, take refuge in the glorious kind Llama Vajradhara, the embodiment of the body, speech, mind, qualities, and activities of the Buddhas of the 10 directions and the 3 times, source of the 84,000 categories of the teaching and Lord of the Sanghas. We take refuge in the kind root Llama and lineage Lamas. We take refuge in the deities of the Mandalas of the Yidams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to Bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stages of the path. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness which is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. refuge of all sentient beings without exception, divine subjugator of terrifying Mars, together with their hosts of demons, the one who understands all realities without exception exactly as they are, transcend and conquer together with your disciples. Please come here to this place. Is sprinkled with scented water and strewn with flowers. It is adorned with Meru, the supreme mountain, the four continents, and the sun and moon. As a Buddha field I offer it. May all sentient beings attain the happiness of the Buddha fields. Whatever merit I have gathered through prostrations, offerings, confession, rejoicing, beseeching, and praying, for the sake of the enlightenment of all sentient beings, all this I dedicate. Page 11. Namo. To the Llama of utterly pure appearance and existence, I offer the fundamental ground of appearance and existence. I supplicate you to thoroughly liberate the three realms. Please grant your blessings and overturn the depths of samsara. Sublime Master, wish-fulfilling jewel, crown ornament, the inconceivable, inexpressible mind of the victorious ones, the one endowed with the five wisdoms of omniscience, gracious one, the embodiment of love, precious protector of beings, I supplicate you from within the essence of mind. Please grant your blessings from within the innate nature. Please bless me that I may realize the Dharmakaya that is beyond intellect, this primordially unborn, completely pure mind. Transcend and conquer the one thus gone, foe destroyer of afflictive emotions, completely perfected Buddha, endowed with logic and virtue, the one gone to bliss, knower of the world, captain and tamer of beings, the unexcelled teacher of gods and men, I respectfully prostrate, completely touching my head to the stainless feet of the unequaled Shakya king. At the time of your birth, the leader of two-legged beings, taking 7 steps on this great earth, you proclaimed, I am supreme in this world. To you who were wise, even then I prostrate. Possessing a body of complete purity, your sublime form is excellent. An ocean of primordial wisdom, you are like a golden mountain, the one whose renown is evident throughout the 3 worlds, protector of supreme attainment. To you I prostrate. To you who are endowed with the supreme marks, whose face is like an immaculate moon. To you, the one with a complexion like gold, I prostrate. A flawless one such as you among the 3 levels of existence is most exquisite. Unparalleled omniscient one, to you I prostrate. supreme among humans, captain of those to be tamed, the one thus gone, who severs the all-binding fetters, who with senses pacified is utterly pacified and skilled in peace. To that one, the one who dwelled at Shravasti, I prostrate. Refuge endowed with great compassion, totally omniscient one who indicates the way, ground basis for oceans of merit and qualities, I prostrate to the one thus gone. The pure cause free from attachments, the virtue that liberates from the lower realms, the altogether supreme ultimate truth, to the pacifying Dharma I prostrate. Having been liberated, they also reveal the path to liberation. Thoroughly respectful of the three higher trainings, they are a field of sublime qualities. To the Sangha I also prostrate. And then back to page 9. And then page 15. I prostrate to the youthful Manjushri, To those in the worlds of the 10 directions, however many there are, all the lions among humans who appear during the 3 times, to all of them without exception, I pay homage with respectful body, speech, and mind. The force of my aspiration prayer for excellent conduct brings all the victorious ones directly to mind. Bowing down with bodies as numerous as atoms in the realms, I prostrate to all the victorious ones. In a single atom, there are Buddhas as numerous as atoms, each residing in the midst of their sons and daughters. Like that, I imagine the whole Dharmadhatu completely filled with victorious ones. To those with oceans of inexhaustible praiseworthy qualities, with sounds containing oceans of tones of melodic speech, I express the qualities of all the victorious ones. I praise all the Sugatas with the finest flowers, the finest garlands, music, ointments, supreme parasols, supreme lamps, and the finest incense. I make offerings to the victorious ones with the finest cause, supreme scents, and fine powders equal to Mount Meru, all displayed in supreme and magnificent ways. I make offerings to those victorious ones. With vast and unsurpassable offerings, I venerate all the victorious ones. Through the power of faith and excellent conduct, I prostrate and offer to the victorious ones. Whatever negative actions I have performed with body, speech, and also mind, overpowered by desire, aggression, and stupidity, I confess each and every one of them. I rejoice in everyone's merit. The victorious ones of the 10 directions, the Bodhisattvas, the Pratyekya Buddhas, those in training, those beyond training, and all beings. I request the protectors, the lamps of the worlds of the 10 directions, who passing through the stages of awakening, attain Buddhahood beyond attachment, to turn the unsurpassable Dharma wheel. I supplicate with my palms joined together, those who intend to demonstrate nirvana, to remain for kalpas as numerous as atoms in the realms, for the welfare and happiness of all beings. I dedicate whatever slight virtue is accumulated through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and supplicating to enlightenment. And then the request for teachings. Please turn the wheel of the Dharma of the 2 vehicles in their combination, according to the dispositions and mental capacities of sentient beings.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Da tin du ne da ka ta nga so tirwa cha de chembu nganden ke 다 기타 치 투모 치 모두 로도 넘버 헤스 네 지네 다 투모 마이비 헬라 지네 나 모두 헤스 라고요 다 티인도 같아 투모 마이비 나 모두 텔라 지네 잠도 어디 티인도 잠도 tiene jamdo tiene tishula yigas ro tiene kasang no ke chandu chungwan na ji bi ta ji tang ro chi bi na yang jamdo te ji cha tishula yang tiene yiga tiene ji ayo de tiene yin na yang ta kasang
Manda.
yiga ro yiga 더 지스마 어디엔디 때문에 틀라 가장 좋게 청원을 하거든요. 지 카톡 거랑 점부터 지토비오나 지보레스 이내 양다 점부 지위네 가요. 그냥 삼레 지 배너로 gen거 인바 physical 팅기 유비나 근데 너 샘다 점부니고 팅기 가세고래 rotating the Senate Korani these Tendo China degree. Tigana Yiki Yang, something as a Kazangahi, Chaya, Tawani Logi, one cha, same matter with me in Bina Yang, with Jamdo Sardina degree. Yes.
So yesterday, when we were talking about the preliminaries to the fivefold path of Mahamudra and how one goes through the preliminary practices, specifically kind of in the context of retreat. So there are the common preliminaries, which are the four thoughts that turn the mind. There are the common inner preliminaries, which also have four, which are refuge, Vajrasattva, Mandala, and Guru Yoga. And also, as before we closed last night, there was some discussion about whether it was okay to switch the order of refuge and Vajrasattva, to which he said, generally speaking, it is the case that one should go through the progressive stages in order. But when it comes to those first two, if there's some issue, some reason why one might need to do Vajrasattva first, they can do Vajrasattva first and then do.
First of all, these penna.
Oh, not first.
Right. Can you go
alternating?
Yeah, alternating.
Okay.
These so that pen tunjek na ro in tunjek na na tin go jamdo the cha se kazi se to se tin ya bi ka la yi jano sa tin de ki oro.
Oh, okay. My apologies, I misunderstood. So actually it's that if one wants to do them, accumulate them kind of simultaneously, meaning even in a single session, if you want to do some prostrations, for instance, if it's difficult to do a lot of prostrations, you can do some Vajrasattva and then you can do some prostrations. So you can kind of combine accumulate the practices at the same time. But in general, also for those who are elderly, or those who are older and maybe find it hard to do prostrations, or maybe it would be damaging for the body, then actually it's okay not to do prostrations with refuge. You can focus instead of accumulating the prostrations, you can accumulate the refuge prayer.
That telewa choose ya de ko katam human yi ko ji chu tele de ko yu dang tu yang dung gu de la tiga na yi choose ya de kang chi to ba de so je me yi tele ko pena jig rang yo ma de ka sen ko kang za la to ne so lo kang za la to gu yo kang za ko ran ka chi to ba de pena tiga na yi sang ji sung do je dang yun den de wi bi na pena ni gun kala no Nigun kala ma to kunda kala no sa yo maris teya jumse mombo je to ni na ta tu do wi na ko ji mu ki choba ku sha jo ma to na la kala so ti yo sa marwa Tindu.
Hey, kare chupa. Oh, chupa buwe di do wrong nangla nyama chupa. Oh.
Ita choba pugyo, choba pusha joma tobi, non calasso, mares. Tini in shop. Konda yang sonyum lo ji sonyum senari yang chilo jengdo yang ningon chilo lo tuzu chola wa jeng tgana ye ketene tuzu chola imba da ni ne kalsina poji konda kala mazawina usupon chotendo tili yabo yo tili la tene je konda kala saya yo mare sumbre te jungsen ina reason tele den yang tga ji ta te yang ko inchi mi tgana chigo ya ndo Kisi music na de wanda wada. Ne yang ji mini kalasa goya chiksuku week cha de wanda wada tini na ona kalasa goyes sungdo tini ji inji mini ku role ji gomares.
So just as it was mentioned that it's important to kind of be flexible to accord with the time and place or country, it's also good to be flexible to accord with the individual, kind of the disposition and needs of the individual, meaning that, so for instance, to give you an example, the Buddha taught that for the monastics, they should not eat after the noonday meal. So you just have the noonday meal and then you don't eat dinner. And there were a lot of reasons, for this vow. And some of them had to do with living off of the offerings of others so that you weren't too much of a burden on your benefactors, so you just offer, you just receive like the noonday meal, and then after that, you don't eat in your own home. And secondly, because it also is better for health. So for kind of lightness and health of the body, particularly in the context of meditation. But it wasn't like a case where, actually also the Buddha taught that for those who had problems, physical problems, health issues where they were weak and they really needed to eat in the afternoon or in the evening, that they could eat the evening meal. And so, all of these kind of rules or codes of conduct can be adjusted, according to the needs of the individual.
Flexible entonces,
¿qué será el equipo?
However, it's really important, so it is very flexible, but it's also important not to use it as an excuse, meaning like if you actually can do the prostrations, but then you decide that, oh, well, I can't really do the prostration, so I'll just do the mantra accumulation instead. That's not okay. So it does require pushing yourself.
So this Theravada, Kita choose here, Takadina, Kita choose you, Mare, Zambelenki, Jikendi Shayal Karina Puji, so Maimba, or Huji Timbo Maimba, Huji Tambo Maimba, flexible, what is.
So actually, this is the case with all aspects of Dharma practice, and also not even just Dharma, like it's the same with worldly endeavors. You really need to find the balance between, not too relaxed, not too loose, and also not too tight. So you have to find some happy medium where there's some pushing, but not pushing too much. What?
That issue la, what's a Mendera, that Mendete Yantine, that young Jatanchina Mendetela Chatsego is.
So then the next practice is the practice of mandala. And so once you've finished the 100,000 recitations of the 100-syllable mantra, Vajrasattva, then you move on to the practice of mandala. And in our tradition, mandala has another 100,000 prostrations. So you prostrate again with the accumulation of mandala.
That delay to Carson theory. Some day, Seattle, coach, Luton, Sem Ninjala, Luyan de Bogo, Sem de Bogo. Tin to Lusem Ninjala, or a balanced Bogo. Tin do Penage, Katanga Pont Huanagiri. That's some deal of do, which lot on Ayomaro. Chilot on a new June Center, no, on Baja, the Dosteas, Yomaro. But in do go chance civic pain. Yore, the grep changre, Teda Mazibiki, physical Koran, Subu Koran, Yabodi to Yore. The independent Gunga, you know, that makes a huge soul around the win. Penna, Rodon number Henda winner, Chatsea your Mari. Tinia Jamrogana Chatse Bogrova. Tinia Dorjes and Begana Chatse Gomarwa. Today, young men are going to chance a go. Young men enjoy a chance a go. Today, young Cheval model a chance a go place. That Tinny go support the bear, coaching. That same kitchen and chibi kitchen up down, who send a topa. Then Yam Sagri, Teta Yam to physical body corruption, strain to pay. Yabu did 2 years of this.
So especially when you're staying in retreat, actually having all of these opportunities to do prostration is really beneficial because we need to attend to both the body and the mind. The body has to be well and the mind has to be well. And so in retreat, since you can't go outside, you don't really have another opportunity for exercise. It's not like you can walk around much in your retreat dwelling. So really there's this added benefit of having all these prostrations. So it both serves the function of purifying defilements and obscurations, and also keeping the physical body in shape, keeping the physical body healthy, getting exercise. And so Drupana said, he really, especially doing all of it in retreat, he really felt the benefit of that. First with the 4 thoughts that turn the mind, there are no prostrations. Then doing refuge, there are the prostrations. Then doing Vajrasattva, no prostrations. Then doing Mandala, prostrations. Then doing Guru Yoga, no prostrations. And then doing special bodhicitta, again, we have prostrations. And so this really is kind of a wonderful alternation, alternating. And it has that benefit of, yes, like incredible blessings and experience arising in the practice and, inwardly in the mind. And also, so there's definitely realization arising, and then there's also the strength of the body, that is developed through the prostrations. So then, with then for the rest of the fivefold path, or for Mahamudra, there aren't prostrations, but then again, when you get to the 6 yogas of Naropa, then you have the practice of Trulkor, which is another sort of physically demanding practice that involves exercise.
I think interesting what Tene ta chodung do chi yore chodung chi bi ne khala ta nga zo ti almora la bomba ji yorwa bomba de la ko 단 Ngur side, only one side nga to be samhana in the fence to Chadioris.
So at Almora, where he did his 3-year retreat, there was only kind of the one side on the like outside of there where the retreat rooms were or houses, and it was like right there next to the fence.
No.
No. Okay.
So there is Almora there, a temple, monastery. So in the monastery, so one wall, so this inside we have like fence, right? Cannot see outside. But one side, we, just kind of fence, sort of like connected to the fence. So there is sometimes, because very difficult to some Drong teachings, this Ngur or yoga exercise. So we have to have together. So, but we don't have the place. So then he can go outside, they close the monastery. So then there's small window,
Oh, so you would all look out the window while he was doing
No,
up.
not look,
Oh,
not-
oh, okay.
So then they're really high, like almost touch, like hand touch. That's high, the window is small. So then we just jump up in the window, we exercise in the monastery, and then back to the window through. So we cannot through the doors. The door is outside the fence. The
Are you
monastery
guys
door-
getting this?
The windows open onto the enclosed space that's part of the retreat area.
Exactly, yes.
Oh, good
Only
job.
one side, the monastery.
Yeah. And if they go.
But the three side is outside, outside the fence. So the other side, the windows, main doors, but we cannot go there. That's all the monastery doors, everything is
Outside of the
fence.
boundary. Oh,
So that time is just, it really surprised, just we look like monkey, just everyone. Go
so they
up,
would
there's
climb
no
in and
issues,
out of the
climb
window.
up,
They had to
yeah.
climb in and out of the high window to get to the courtyard, I guess. Is that correct?
Courtyard.
Didn't you say courtyard?
Courtyard is like the area between the building and the fence, the enclosure.
You
We're
guys
actually
understand?
going in the building.
We're going in the building, going in the monastery.
But it's because the fence ran into the monastery or something like that, and so you couldn't go around to the front door.
Yeah, no, that's
So you had to
outside the
go-
fence.
Yeah, so you had to go into the window because that was still within the boundary of the fence, because the fence.
Right, so Drong he go first,
Because he could go outside.
he closed the door.
Door.
So nobody's come in, nobody see to the two tents.
Nobody can see the retreat.
Right, so people cannot go come in the temple monastery. So there we jump out from the
Window.
window, go in the monastery.
Oh, into the monastery.
Into the monastery.
Into the assembly hall, like the
Yeah.
Went out
shrine
and went
room,
into the monastery and they had to get in through some.
through the window.
Windows,
Yeah.
then we do the exercise. Then we back to the window, so we cannot go in the door. So then we just jump up again through the window. So that time is really kind. That's kind of I always surprised, everybody just up there, no issues, The window is small, very high. So
You're in good shape.
then I was in Korea to finish. I went to Dharamsala. So there's another retreat place we call Ngakpatasan. So like kind of Ngur tradition.
Mhm.
So also my friend, I know the same area. He sort of kind of finished this same time. He did Korea retreat. So day 3 or maybe like more than 3 and 6 months or maybe 8 months, 3 years and 8 months, but they come out in the monastery. And so they come out as a retreat. So they cannot walk at all.
Mm.
Oh, no. Just sit.
Yeah, I've
Just
heard of that.
luck.
Mhm.
So really, so that time is probably I was there, maybe finished the retreat, maybe already month.
It had been 1 week since he finished his retreat.
So already 1 month. So, but the Dalai Lama teaching. So they try to, a little bit far away, but they try to calm Dalai Lama teaching. Still really wake up very early. Probably maybe this, if you normal people, normal person, maybe 20 minutes, maybe. But they wake up really early. And then they come to Dalai Lama's teaching. They took 3 hours. So, but they said every day is better. First, they said like even though like 100 feet. So then I thought this we did the retreat, the exercise, how much helps.
Mhm.
That mandate that mandate yang chỉ qua đấy mandate chỉ thằng mandate đâu chỉ vì nó ngồi chả công việc là chỉ chả chính xác rồi thì được yên này yang có chỉ không phải nói gì đấy nhang mandate thì chỉ chả một xe thuốc mình này yang có chỉ check out đâu chả xe check out đâu lạc bị thằng nó đi that's 7 point thì don't need to do this.
So then with mandalas, with the practice of mandala, again, what you're accumulating are the prostrations, but this time they're half prostrations, so they're not full prostrations. However, if somebody has difficulty, physical problems that prevent them from doing that many prostrations, they can also do like half and half. They can do half accumulation of prostrations and half accumulation of the 7-point mandala offering.
제가 나이 양아 저도 썸 그러다지 베나지 디슬로 첨부 인반다고 진도지 오 당아 차치 톱삼마리 단제다 퍼베 차야 자와니 네버 피니시 나오지 디스코레 차고 여러 근데 말이스 레이 저라데지 100,000 차나 야보레스 이네 양 고인지민이 100,000 차고 칸요 말이스 이네 코 베나 차샤나 베로 차샤나 매직 genguang đâu vậy nó, cô genguang chỉ chả xe là lối chung chúng tôi chả ngã thấu xe thùng rồi, thì điều cô chỉ phải làm mà rồi, ý này yang cô chỉ cái lẽ jawa, thế là thế này thì phèn rồi, sinh chế mình cô làm bát thì bố mà đấy, làm bát đâu ini là em bảo, bên này genguang chỉ chả xe là lối chung chỉ chả chọn đâu xe thùng rồi, xong hiện đâu, nên là làm bát thì mà thì chỉ có rồi, thế điều thế thì cha cái gì bên này message thì nó bên đây cha tổng thái gì mà thôi sẽ thuộc mấy nó anh chắc gì rồi
So for somebody who is older and prostrations at this point have become very difficult, they don't need to feel discouraged thinking that they can't do the practice because it isn't absolutely necessary to do the prostrations or to do the full amount of prostrations. So someone who is older, for instance, like for an older person to do one prostration might equal, the amount of effort or kind of physical exertion that it takes a younger person to do 6, for instance. And so really it's like one prostration is kind of equal to 6 of a younger person. So it isn't so much about the numbers, it's more about the effort, and the kind of what you put into it. And so it isn't so important to focus on the numbers. Like if, for instance, you can only manage to do 1,000 prostrations in your lifetime, that's okay. In your lifetime, did you say? Yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes we think people always say, you have to finish 100,000, or you finish this 100,000, that 100,000, so that 100,000, what is 100,000, 100,000. Then people, they looked at my physics, I never finished 100,000 my lifetime. So then I sort of give up, no, I cannot do this 100,000. So no, shouldn't thinking like that. Okay. Do it. You can do, I said, a day, you 3 postations. That's fine. Or you 3,000. Fine too. So, how to do? So, just I saying this, do it whatever you can. So, I said, not shouldn't thinking same thing, you know, oh, he did like 1 day, 3,000. Okay. So everybody same like that. No.
Yeah, you
no
get, in other words, you can't compare you can't get into a mind of comparing yourself to others.
need, right. So just do it. I said this, if you these physical issues and this, then right, I said it's you afford, you know. Maybe 1 postation you need to really afford. So that way, mainly is to do it.
So value that, even that one
And-
prostration. Mhm.
And also, I think really is that this yes, careful, you know, your physical problems. Careful, but also you try to do the postation. So really helpful physically. So these interesting too, you know. They're related to physical and, you know, merit or karmic connections, really powerful. So we go yoga or there are different things, you know, okay, you can move, you know, you become, need to stronger hand, you do this, or you maybe, or legs, there you can do this way, you know, there's all kind of things. But really, it's the postrations help the entire body. So it looks like one with symbol, just only one thing, one way, one thing. But particular is the, it become order. So this body is kind of not flexible, you know. So the postration really kind of make the flexible look bent, you know, and the body. And the up, they need strength. So they build up like hand and feet and the kind of spine. So,
And core and butt
Mhm.
and thighs
Everything.
and every single part of your body. Yeah.
yeah, this become a stomach,
Mhm.
right?
Core.
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 Or
Yeah. Major core workout.
Yeah, amazing actually. Some, you know, in the Tibetan, the older peoples, they do all the transport stations. Really surprised those. I think physical is amazing, like really flexible, you know, walking and I think I tell you this, my one uncle, so he's doing like 1,000 postations a day. So that is just he finished like before the breakfast.
And he was pretty old, right? How
Yes.
old?
So he's interesting. So really I surprised he just postations just kind of look like a kind of play or something, but really not, you know.
made it look easy.
Yeah, looks very easy. And then later on, he just walk and just looks like I maybe not touch the feet in the ground.
Slowly.
It is. So, yeah, of course, in meditation, his mind and so on. At the same time, is the amazing is the physical. I think that's why I say this 1,000 frustration I did. So not, I think not only, you know, Dharma, but physical, but also this all everything's together, you know. Body is good, mind is good, their dharma is good. But one little bit not good, then kind of like everything is independent, like
Interdependent.
interdependence. Oh, that is that Hamadi Danas the Caps have a scenery kanda, that let me enjoy wa. Let me enjoy this.
So then the last of the Ngur practices, the inner Ngur, is the Guru Yoga.
Then that's all Karsananga. So Lama's dog go yoreta. Ta lama c'est du Jetanteson, ta lama Duviala Karsegore. Yinia Tambotella Tazuna, ta lama Seatela Tazungudoachi Lameke Loma la Taya Lome Lama la Taya Tri Gugre Suntua Tambulawina degrees.
So when it comes to like the relationship between Llama and student, it is said that, you know, first the Llama should really examine the student, and likewise the student should examine the Llama. So first,
Lama Talan Kebas. Tene Tishula, Lama de Chitane, Chitanza Vishula, Tempe Kepago days. Tirana Yike, Gonchu Labla Kebas, Tam on it in the water, Lama de Yichu, that Lama thinking the witch you penguin. That Laviat Calab, Lame Calabudo. What that a tango was.
So it is said that the student should be wise in examining the Llama in the beginning, and they should be wise in relying on the Llama later on. So they should be wise in their examination to start with, and then wise in their reliance. And so what that means is that once one has gone through the process of examination and has decided, okay, this is my teacher, this is my Llama, then they really need to have trust, and they also need to follow what their Llama says. They need to actually do what they say. And so that means like it's not sufficient to just be like, oh, I have faith in this Llama. This is my Llama. I trust, I have devotion to this Llama. You have to actually skillfully attend to or rely on the Llama, which means really putting their instruction into practice. And also, you need to be stable, like meaning that once you've decided to rely on a teacher, your faith should be unchanging. It should be really stable.
Keep going,
because life is short, so there's not a lot of time to mess around with, trying on different teachers. Not that it's that there's any problem. Like if you rely on one Lama and then you go to rely on another Lama, that's fine. But it might not be to your best advantage because this life is short, and so it's best, like, once you've chosen a teacher, to really stick with that teacher and really do what they advise, so that you can really progress, during the short duration of this life.
근데 다 들어가는 이게 더도 다 남아서야 다 나도 참래 단디나 라마 군두 배치면 다 들이 좋은 거 라마 공변에 갑라 근데 지 이나 다 라마 수직 고 티처로 요리티 라마 공변에 갑라 지 라마 태양 근데 조원지 텐송공 로가 양만 딱 가서 레네기 포더 근데 공정공도 된다고 dorje changro oda three number
and then when you are meditating, when you're meditating on the Lama, then you can think of the Lama being, for instance, like the father of our lineage, Kyopa, the Lord Jigden Sumgun, or Drong Kyalgun Rinpoche, in the form of Vajradhara. So you're meditating on them in the form of Vajradhara. Oh, okay. Yeah, excuse me. Okay. So actually, it's okay to visualize them either as Lord Jigden Sumgun, as Drong Kyalgun Chetsang Rinpoche, or as Vajradhara.
That's all Karsana was a teddy. Young take Gumia, Jim Sandy Karsana, Chi Mo Koran Tung, Bicala, Penalama, Joan, you can soon go the Doji Channel, the Bombina, Ting Mo take Karsana, Emiji take Karsana, Jong Kunzi, Yondan Chadi, what is.
Didn't the kind of Kyalgun Rinpoche yang gom make bachina gomna digitally? Okay. So this is because the like, for instance, we if we visualize the form Vajradhara, so the form of there's the essence is the same, but the form is completely free of any taint, completely free of any fault, and it is endowed with all of the enlightened qualities.
Karsana Laiba, Beltindoji, Bombina, Pingo Carriores, Labina, Tinico, Jong, Seadi, Penant, Le Tambo Bay, Le Tambos and ordinary Lamandawina, Tini, Chi. Could you mix it with something now a shower or penetration? Or Lamatia Bodo, CG, or Yan, some water, Lamatin Digmendo, someone over Chico. Younger, Mayum week of protection over Chick, Tini Chavi. Yina yang korantati ordinary lama tela when same ke tene yichi yubina ti ke lama ti ngo tada dorje chani ko same ko yeba me cha lo ko in lama ti including cha di what is yina yang ko jik same ke churba lo ji mina ya is.
So the benefit of this is that so like if you have an ordinary, like if your lama is kind of like an ordinary being, then you have the thoughts. Sometimes you see them with pure view, and think that they like you're able to see them with pure view. But then sometimes you see them as a human, and you think like, oh, this or that isn't okay, or I don't agree with this. And so then to visualize them in the enlightened form of, say, Vajradhara provides a protection from that, because you, by visualizing that pure form, you know that the essence of the Lama's mind and the essence of Vajradhara are one and the same. And so there's not, if you visualize your Lama in their ordinary form, your mind might fall into kind of an ordinary concept. And so it provides the visualization in this way provides protection. If it is the fact that you really see them without that kind of mind that wavers back and forth, then it's okay to visualize them in their ordinary form. The main thing is about, no, never mind, scratch that.
Yine tindi chura pene sem yini meba ordinary lama tili ichi yubi pene chura dorje chan bom di yu na ordinary lama ni ye meba ti ko tele yore cha di waris. Inji mini ko de ordinary lama te je kongwa yo maris.
So if you're visualizing Vajradhara, your Lama as Vajradhara, they are indivisible in essence. And so you don't have to visualize your Lama in their ordinary form.
Including channel.
Because they're included in that. They're included in that visualization of Vajradhara.
Tieni ta jetanga zo tereda. Yina yang ko Lama se de kechi mo de. Tieni ji surwa tengen do ji. Ngoni semke tengni kun yurwa tangen ti ji keba ichen do ji tone tango gyo. Tango de. Nimba di kun yurwa tangen ti su tangre la wina ranki tokwa ti tango da. Tieni permissivity kechi da jengni ni kalsa Lama se ke kechi mo la meke ji wan long ji jubatela Lama tel todu yorwa tene ti shula ota te.
So it's really important when practicing the Lama that you really have this stable mind of devotion that is unchanging, because that will really be the source of like connecting with the blessings and therefore having realization arise in your mind stream. So it's really very important. And also, in that, there can be this recognition of the value, the importance of, that the Lama is your connection to, your source of having received, the empowerments, the transmissions and teachings. So it is through that Lama that you are connecting with the entire continuity of the lineage, that it is, transmitted to you through that vehicle.
Tieni so tirano ye tangen tre lai bo sem ke tene kun jurwa tangen tela teba se atik tantu gros khete ne so je teba tik ke tantu malis.
So the sim de gari the sim tingne. Is there something we have to attend to? Or is there? Oh, okay. So sim tingne girwa tanya debare. So deba the sim la girwa tanya debare.
Le sunjwa tantu gros.
So that which brings about a transformation or change in the mind is faith.
So interesting, right? So we see the so first, like deeply can move, and then if move or not is depending faith and devotion. So, like I think deeper, in the mind. Deeper way, right? Deeper way.
The deeper way.
So we call it whatever this okay, can change or not, or the mind is really be there or not is the effect of devotion. So kind of deeper can, or trust or
Trust.
you understand?
I think what he's saying is, like, basically, in other words, there is nothing that is more powerful than faith, right? That's what brings about the deepest transformation in the mind. Is that what you're saying? That's what really creates a change in the mind?
우리가 대바세지요로와 대바세야지 이치세야 뒤게 꼭 샘기 땡이 따지 샘 네토비아지가 샘 teller지 로 띠토비아 느파지 요레스.
Okay, that was the key word. So with faith and really deep trust, it creates the ability for the mind to really abide or focus. When there's that faith, that creates the stability from which realization can arise.
뒤에다 텔레카스나 first step 베네테리다 당보 오르네리 벌써이나 대바디강 이치지 이유나 뒤에 샘텔라 샘 네토그레 샘티토그레 샘티토발라 때네
So sim nepa dang tepa ki chapagare yure.
우리 샘티바 네바 도와트네 그 베나 샘티스나다 이치유나 샘 네그로와 이치유나 샘 네그로와 이나 소지다 티키다 이치 미위나 때네 어주냐면 지구라 나거든요.
Yeah.
당원이지 대바 미위나 삼보 고초요 고차가 말 초도나 말 초들이 야면 랑통다 인지리 야면은 맹통다 인지리 다 거기 휴지 그 원리 너 차대로 원래지 대바 이치지 더는 주지고 나 원래 주지고 그러와 이렇게 당보 그런가 되레스.
So the first step really in Dharma practice is faith and trust, because it is through faith that the mind really abides in the practice. I think what is also being said here is it really merges in a deep way with the practice. Otherwise, even though you might practice, the practice can remain kind of superficial. So for instance, sometimes you're doing Dharma, but it's it doesn't go very deep. And sometimes it can become easily misdirected. You're doing it maybe more for your own kind of purpose, or to, achieve some sort of status or title or whatever. It can easily become, that the motivation is more worldly oriented. But when there's real devotion, when there's real faith there, then it really, the practice becomes very stable, and the mind is actually able to really focus and abide deeply in the practice. And so that's why in the beginning, especially, it's so important to cultivate this mind of faith and devotion.
대바당 이치유위키 줌센 텔레테네 테네 따직지나 냐마지 냠도 똑바지 찌스게스 이는 냠 똑바지 찌우미깔라 테네 따고 슉치를 테네 원에키 대바 원에키 이치 찌고 줌센 칼스나 따 추티키 비 웰룬도지 출발로지 원이 다 용거지 저한테 용거와 테 용도 테네 고지 개발해야 돼 고지 라이 쇼트는 지금 유럽면 어디.
And so if there is faith and trust that is developed, then one day that faith leads to real experience and realization, strong experience and realization arising. And then eventually, so in the beginning, it has to be somewhat encouraged or contrived, but eventually what that then leads to, because of what it triggers, this experience and realization, then it leads to like really true faith, uncontrived faith that is kind of a deeper level faith that's really based on directly understanding the value. And then at that point, it just happens naturally. There's no effort needed. And it really creates a transformation in the mind. The mind has really experienced a transformation and is able to abide with little effort.
One word I remember that was important to me with faith is that the master is giving you permission to change your mind, showing you a way to do that, and giving you permission to allow you. And that was an important feature of what I think faith is.
So there was a comment that at one point someone heard early on that the master is actually giving you permission to transform your mind, and that kind of has really what the essence of faith is.
Well, it's a component of that.
Or an aspect of faith.
다 되어나기 되어다 기타양 즉 현라 즉 이체당 대바 유에 들레데네 즉 출발도 만다고지요 때 로로지 배 대산로지 배다 이체 지산로지 배 쇼칭부 쇼지 일부요 있었다 아주 로티리 인조로도지 로데산로지 출발 만다고지 컨피덴트로지 이거 됐어.
So it's like this, when there's the faith and devotion and trust, there is this feeling that is kind of unlike any other feeling. Like really, you can rely your mind, you can rely on your object of faith. Like it's like something in which you can fully trust without any hesitation. So it's a stronger level of reliance than any other source of reliance. And so there's a feeling that is unlike any other feeling that comes with that, which is very much connected with confidence.
벤송도 슈위나 이체 쇼지니 그러와 이따 이체 대바니냐면 그러와 디인들 빼나 야와를 뭐지 아니 빼 이츠밀레 기대네 곰지야와 이츠밀레 대바지네 야와를 뭐지 용구도 와 맥주당구도 와
Yawa Boche, Jetsumilala, Holiness Dalai Lama.
Yeah.
So got the Milarapa Lagari.
걔네다 대바당 이체치네
Depadang Yichichini Gari.
걔네 고백 코너 용구요로 와
Crying. Okay. Honorific terms I do not know. So for instance, when there's really deep faith, like faith and trust go hand in hand. So trust is such an important aspect of faith. And when there is deep trust in faith, like for instance, when His Holiness the Dalai Lama sometimes speaks of Milarepa, he sheds tears. He cries tears of devotion. That's how deep his faith is. Rebe.
Did you see in the Facebook or not?
Did anyone see that on Facebook?
I don't interesting. A lot of the sharing the Tibetans.
Yes, it's so beautiful.
It
makes you want to cry.
Right. So particularly these the teachings, how long we meditate in Milarepa. So Terawa, Penna Dalai Lama. So interesting, right? So on the other hand, you see, in the Dalai Lama, maybe somebody said, I killed you right now. He not cry. Okay. Or maybe he lose everything, country, power, freedom. He cares the Tibet, absolutely, you know.
He cares
deeply.
about Tibet, absolutely.
But probably maybe he didn't cry, lose the Tibet. But the faith and devotion, he's really cry, you know, love. So that's kind of different. So that's we have get realization. So if sincerely we don't have the faith and devotion, probably not get realization, even though we said millions mentors. Yes, of course they merit, you know, but very difficult to realization of Mahamudra or maybe get the achieve enlightenment. Matin ko lama se ya tsachi mo le so tanga he lama ji yang lama do ji wo lama le theba chi go lama le chi go ji ta lama le ji koran ke to tang ra ya koran ke ji ti ta lama ko depending lama ga hi uze mo ne ji na ti ke cha kan yo ma mo ne lama le pe cha da ya ta ji tang ko ji yong cha ne lama da ko lo me ke ko interdependent ko ji connection yo wa ko ji lama ya bo yo na Lama la yabo chaya, lama yabo yuna, lama yabo chaya yuna koji that le ko increasing the chagar wa ninja. Yine yang koji teba yongyen ti sul teba yuna korana pengri mato be. Lama la dos ti pen ra yomars. Lama li teba yongyen lama pen chegres.
So it's really important to have faith in the Lama. And it's also important to understand that faith is not about giving power to the Lama. It's not like that the Lama needs you to have faith in them for, their own purpose or benefit. It may be the case that there are some where that happens, but that's not actually how.
I mean, naturally, Timigor is Pena, Lama Tama, Loma Nintewa Yoro, Lama Yaboyuna, Loma La Penata, Lome Yabochina, Lama La Gavage on the Pando, Ninjala. Yinayat and the fat mixing the Penata, Sulpingos.
Yeah. But that's not really, that's not what we're speaking of here. Now there is some because of the interdependence between Lama and student, it is the case that if the Lama is like really progressing well in their practice, or if they're really good, then they benefit the student, and vice versa. If the student does very well, the more that the student improves or progresses, they also benefit the Lama because there is that interdependence there. But when it comes to faith, the faith first and foremost, it benefits the one who has the mind of faith. So actually much more than the faith and the mind of the student benefiting the Lama, it's really not for the Lama, it's for the student. It benefits the student much more than it benefits the Lama.
Another Ripa said that I think that the benefactor gives to the yogi receives as much benefit as the yogi.
You miss the support to the students.
Yeah, Miller Ripa said that the donor or patron who supports
that's
the yogi,
right. So that's that's
receives
the merit, you know.
the merit.
Yeah, I think little bit different in faith.
Oh,
okay. So yes, merit, someone the student, someone support. So the merit get equal.
But just because they're donating doesn't mean that they have deep faith in the yoga that they're donating to, is what you mean. Yes. I mean, somebody who's donating to like their local, the yoga, it doesn't necessarily mean that their faith
Yeah.
is super.
Do I need to be
Yeah, you could
repeating
do
all
it for
this?
prestige or,
Right, right,
yeah,
right.
that's true.
Oh, right, but that I think specific there is fair. Like, sure, of course, this some are going retreat, So then they really devotee, support. So anyway, so even though like okay, depending, maybe there's really fair or maybe
Look at me,
maybe like about this compassion, but the merit still they get merit.
So just to fill in the people on Zoom, what has come up is a question around a famous line from Milarepa, which says something to the effect of the benefactor who supports the yogi in retreat receives the same benefit as the yogi. Like, so they receive the merit, the benefactor who supports the retreatant receives the same merit. And then Drong responded to that, and then somebody else said, but it is possible for somebody who is making a donation to be doing so without completely pure motivation, correct? And so then there was the response to that.
And Drupal's saying that the faith of the student in the Lama deepens for the Lama as well, by seeing the student's faith, authentic faith. There's a
Tini di pena lama garsi di lama la depa yona. Tini lama yang de loma di ki depa togna. Tini kongi yang depa shoot lama depa yang shoot chea dro sigrebe. Like you mean their faith in the student or their faith in the Dharma?
And the Dharma increases, the Lama's faith increases.
Dini di lama yang di loma gi depa latini lame gi depa yang pel sigrebe.
저는 벨스기로 당기라.
Yes,
배는
he
로마
said.
여고나 라마는 펭그리스.
It
라마
is-
여고나 로마 펭그리스.
There is really this interconnection. If there's a good student, it benefits the Lama. If the Lama is good, it benefits the student.
Benefits their faith.
The depa rang la pingyurebe.
그래 펭그로.
Yes.
Wait, can we make a distinction here? Because first Drupal said the faith is for the mind of the student.
Mhm.
And then he said if the Lama's practice advances, that benefits the student. If the student's practice advances, that benefits the Lama. But he said faith is for the benefit of the student, I thought.
Kosonge. So he said that, so to repeat, the confusion was that, oh gosh, this is so complicated to try to,
Well,
because,
absolutely, if you heard it.
yeah.
It's not easy.
Soldi, are you hearing what people are saying in the audience?
He's got it.
Okay. So dini di kain sana dampo chigi pena lama yapo yona, pena lama nyamlin yapo yona, dini di loma la pingirwa, dini loma yang yapo yona, loma di nyamlin yapo yona, dini lama la pingire song song, yini ang depa loma la pingire, depa nune di loma la pingire, so dini yang di pena dinig dako go tomyore kain sina depa nune loma rang la pingre samsung dini depa yang penanyamlen le kaka yemba nangshin sikyo sare.
다 갈수는 그 대바 세야디 갈수는 조 데려와 다 추기 닝본으로 오지 자원으로 차디요와 텐디다디 그 티유비나티 단달라브나 유고 인자를 팽겨버렸어.
Well, you can't really separate. I'm adding this part because this is what it seems to be saying is you can't separate faith from practice. So mainly, because faith is like the essence of the Dharma, then, if there is faith there, then there's benefit to both the Lama and the student.
Okay.
But I think the distinction that was being made in the beginning was more that it's not, the tendency can be that it's somehow benefiting the Lama in a more superficial way, maybe,
Like you said,
or
the Lama doesn't need that faith.
Yeah, it's not like he needs like the ego boost or the power, right?
So that it's all kind of individual opinion is individual kind of opinion what the language page means.
But mainly
Individual.
But mainly the faith, first and foremost, benefits the individual who has the faith in their own mind.
I think this during the cultural revelation. So I think maybe look at the details anyway, but he's a real practitioner. And then, so during the cultural revelation, so then the beating him. Interesting, so probably he has very difficult to understand, what that situation, But they do. So, okay, Llama, right? So Llama, the bring him small village, So maybe, for example, there's 35 families or 50 families. I bring there, and then the leader tied to everyone together to beating this Llama. Yeah,
So the local leader tried to get everybody in the village who had gathered, or the leader who was working for the Chinese, tried to get the entire gathering to beat this Llama.
Right. So then that time is mainly how to this torture is tied up, like very rough,
rope.
Very stone rough, special yak hair, make the rough, right?
Rope. Rope, a very strong rope made out of yak hair.
So then on one side is maybe 3 people, 4 people, one side, and 3 people or 2 people or 5 people, then just tied.
So the arms, the hands are tied with this very strong rope. And the idea is, so there are groups of people on either side pulling the rope on both sides. So I don't think it's like this. It sounds like it's more like
like this.
Behind the back. So it's like to basically cut the hands off, I think. Yeah.
So anyway, this Llama, his name is Ngur Jensen. So every time tied up, he breaks the rope.
Every time they tried to do this, the rope would break.
Like they said, like sometimes the rope, break, like kind of fire.
Like it was burned?
It's sort of burned, but just actually two, So always then. Also, no matter he's beating them, and finish the beating, he's normal, he's healthy, he's happy and he's like, otherwise, even though too much beating, like maybe even though cannot stand up, but the beating stops, and then he's standing, he's just normal, So one time, I think my uncle asked him, so you are very, very miracle. You are extremely powerful. So what are you doing, that time what you did, like your special yidam deity or like special, mantra, or so what you did. So he said, Doctor, I have only faith is gamboba. So that means I have faith, okay? So because he's received his teacher as gamboba. So gamboba, we're talking about this Gamboba, but there are a lot of generations, so maybe this is, I think, seventh Gamboba or something. So his teacher is seventh Gamboba.
The Toku?
Yeah, this Tuku's teacher.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So he did torture, his tremendous suffering, difficult. But then he's not shaking back. Even though very hard, but he remembered the Gambo.
His faith was not changed.
Faith, not changed. But then even though he said he see the Gambo bar directly. Like even though he's like Dharma clothing, sometimes he said, I see the face. Sometimes he said just kind of clothing.
Just saw his robes,
robes.
like could see the robe. He actually like.
So
could
then
see
at that moment, he said, maybe they break the rope.
when he would have the vision, the rope would break.
Maybe he said that he don't know, but I would relax, total relax, no suffering. So that's his faith, you know.
That's the power of faith.
Faith. So this kind of very rare, you know. So this, no matter we can, you know, oh, I like this, I don't like this, or whatever. Somebody make up, okay, you do this, that, but never come closer. This kind of only accept, you know, like faith and devotion. Like I said, the Dalai Lama is no matter what is going on, he never cries. So, but his faith, you know.
The only thing that can make him cry is faith.
Like so also the Christ is always faith. It's not like that. So pure, you know, faith. 어떻게 다 가르치나 쭉 가르치나지 그랬더니 통담 현직이 예시에 해서 통담 현직이 예시 배는 자들 전문으로 근데 텔라 동대남이 친합당 근데 랑 조선은 자샤바 니 뭐도 현 간로 두고 말해 그래서 신바지가 변화 스타디로 휴지위나 오늘 자가 좀 같이 두고 말아 안가로 휴지 당미나요 그 평요래 이나요 또 같이 두고 말했어
So it is said that the ultimate meaning, the co-emergent primordial awareness, Mahamudra, can only arise in dependence upon the blessings of a Lama who has realization and upon the accumulations of one's and due to the accumulation of one's own merit. Apart from that, these are the only two. No amount of study will benefit or, you know, like incredible numbers of mantra recitations. So yes, of course, you know, a lot of mantra recitation there's helps, there's benefit in that. But if it is without faith, then it won't lead to giving rise to realization. It won't cause realization to arise.
So we can take a break here, 20 minutes.
Back and forth.
Back at 4.
Mandala Sado Samaya Manubaya Mandala Sado Dino Badita Dudo Mebawa Asudo Kayo Mebawa Asudo Kayo Mebawa Anurado Mebawa Sarva Siddhi Mebraya Sarva Karma Suzame Zidang Shya Guru Hong Mahaho Vangavan Nasarva Dadanga Mandara Mame Munda Medre Bhava Mahasamaya Sadhu. That in the Jitang was that I think Conchuana Yiri
Coffee does go good.
Gondor.
Yeah. Mhm. Ready?
What that in the Tang Conchuana Yiri, Tin Tang also Teba Sayati, Jiong Channel does some down Teba Yori, Teba maybe never get on Chuchia or Shikora Yungri or Maristin on something also Tang Conchuana or Teba Ziti. Kaji Chiang Adana Chuchia Kahado Micha your Maris, Tilimaso Tebatan, Yichi, you will attend not to Chuchi is in the Apu, what in the Tajitan, Kuteba Junimi Vinanda, Pechem and Chuchia, Pecha, Maris, not okay, and the Chuchia and the Yantini, Chushin Doji, Tebano, Yichi Chine.
So in any case, this quality of faith is something that's really indispensable, throughout the entirety of Dharma practice. If there isn't any faith, then even if we engage in the Dharma practices, there's not really any basis for our practice. There's no ground, from which to start with. And so it is dependence upon faith and trust that we can even do the practice. So actually about at least 60% of our practice, it should be faith-based.
Or much should be somebody.
Or is faith-based. So it's not should be, but is faith-based. Because if we don't have any faith, we won't even do the practice. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that means that about 60% of our practice is faith.
Right. Yeah, and I contribute like Matilla, somebody when I'm okay. Chu Yamne Chia Yorwa, or something over that Tanila or down the Pendo or Marine or Lavi. Ina Yankoji, not Dayatela, Tebi Junior Artangers, Tebamina Artangmarwa, or Team Bitini, Kaduina involved your Yina Yankota, Teba the Zawa in Bando, you love your Matoma to Teba, Teba Yores, Yores.
So for example, if we do Dharma practice, like, so for instance, if we'll say, oh, well, if you do mantra recitation without any faith, then there isn't so much benefit. But the truth of the matter is you won't even do mantra recitation if you don't have faith. So faith is always involved at some level. And so, of course, we want to increase, the degree to which it is there. But so it really is, though, that faith is like the entire root of the practice.
That more important careers, chu chia tela ko tali kong chuwa na yi teba yuna diuter hana ta yamdo pa che gerwa tini imbi jumsen tele tene ko ji teba tele chen ra ma le wa chi ko guys ha ko son
Depa Chin.
chen la
Mhm,
ra ma le bas
mhm.
ina jurwa me bo chen ra le na cham cha ji chen ji thina teba yo wa chi ya chen ji thina teba me wa tini mai ba teba ta ko chi yo me wa pa jol chen ji thi so na teba ta jurwa me wa chi yo ta ta chi is.
But the most important thing, is to really understand that it is in dependence upon the depth of our faith that will experience the fruition. It is in direct correlation with that experience and realization can arise. So we have to work to make our faith really unwavering, really stable. So that means that it's not dependent upon conditions, like that at some point, or at sometimes when the conditions are there, there's faith, but then sometimes when the conditions are not there, you can't access any faith or it doesn't arise. So like sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not. We want to make the faith really deep and unwavering, so that there isn't any kind of instability there.
I have a question. I have difficulty with this term faith, because in English, faith really means belief in something for which there's no evidence. But in this case, it seems like faith is more, there is evidence. We see the qualities of the Llama. And then so it seems like what we're being asked to do is have faith or trust that if we follow the instructions, we will get the same result. So that's not quite the same as faith in English. It seems like that's...
I think there are different denotations and connotations of the word. In an Abrahamic religious context.
Like,
that.
Okay,
yeah, I think
so
like the
you're just
older meaning
answering
of faith is kind of like confidence, right? Like full faith and confidence.
Okay, well, one thing I want to say is that there are the challenge with the terms is that so there's this word yichi and there's this word depa. So depa is I cannot think of another word for depa. Yichi, I usually, which is sometimes belief, I usually translate as trust. But I can't for the life of me think of another way to say depa.
So,
That's fine.
Oh. I was going to ask about devotion, please, but it's the same.
And that's another word, mugu.
Okay, so we're not talking about devotion. We're talking about confidence or trust.
Are you following all this?
And I'm so sorry that I interrupted.
No, that's
Yeah, I don't know this depth, faith is not exactly, English. So,
But is then the explanation, is the meaning that I talked about, is that what we're being called upon to generate?
no, right.
Okay.
리다 초랑기는 고텔 제타 대바틀 태동으로 와. 대변나라 예와요. 그 리즈 에보로 와. 리젠지 그거 다 대바들. 나쪽에 대바들 리젠지 거나 대바치기 거래스. 뭐도 대가서 강야 매와지고 뭐 대바선다 뭐네 지난 가서 이거를 대바요로 왔거든. 벌써나디 잘하고 그래. 어떤
So yes, you're correct in saying that, the type of faith that you're being called to have isn't one that doesn't have a reason for it. So there is a reason, it's based on reason. It isn't, you're not being asked to just blindly believe something. So there is some evidence,
Conviction is a good word.
Conviction, although I think conviction would be more the translation of Yichi.
That's also, that's more fruition.
Is it, when we're talking kind of about faith in this context, does it fit into one of those three types of faith discussed in Dual Ornament of Liberation?
Yeah,
The
the
clear faith, the
Dangwei
longing faith, the
Deba.
trusting faith?
레이다고 대바로 이해와치다 데려와 그러나고 너희들이 강의 대바도 예치비 대바.
So that faith, yes, has there are three types that are like as they are discussed, the clear faith, longing faith, and confident faith.
Okay, so this applies to all three. Kind of what
Yes.
we're talking about, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
이나 양다 기타는 것을 보배기 나나 몬디 있어야지 벌써. 몬디 있어야지. 다 대대지 있잖아. Sometimes 인가서나 misunderstanding 게임 지식이와 보배 나나 몬디 있어야지.
There is a term though in Tibetan for blind faith. They speak of blind faith, and there is a term for that, and it is literally like blind faith. And this is not blind. I mean, it's there. It can, yeah.
다 몬디 있어야지. 다 몬바로 오지 지집에 진 중들이 있어야로 오지. 당가기다 opposite 몬디 이어와. Pena pe mambo your belief scenario ta tanda pena simtiensi lina pe ta dewa to be samaro ita mombaro til te ichi go pe te ba yor la.
It actually, it's literally like confused faith. So an example of it would be, and there are a lot of examples, it's like actually like putting faith in hope in something that actually has the opposite effect. Like an example would be sacrificing living beings with the thought that that's going to give you some sort of happiness or some sort of reward or benefit. So there's this expectation or there's this faith, but it's actually like a confused faith.
Yang ga kaya majina ji ta yungri ro sam de pe yichi ro ji te ba ro chi de ro. Pe yung ma ro. Tanda tele karsana ko Jumsen karsana reason ro. Penata penatanda ro ina ta things yichi be te ba ro. Ina ta yichi be te ba ro ji yu penatla imba. Sem ko yungu tanda ta ko meji ko dungu ro wa tani la pe ten na yi tani pen to ro. Eventually, Kepa you what you chivina to me. That money chin kick no more not so Julie you wick to me. Chick that to not to someone completely Carsepata. Chick never so to me. Keba chat you.
So this blind faith is really like, thinking, having a belief that, something will get you something and what that thing will actually get you is like the opposite, or thinking that, by not doing anything, not creating the causes, just by having faith in whatever this object is that will get you something that you're wanting or expecting. But this type of faith that we're talking about is a reasonable faith that's based on evidence and reason. And so eventually that kind of faith, it becomes the third type of faith that Preston and the types of faith that Preston mentioned, Yichipe Depa, which is the confident faith, because there is direct evidence, meaning one without a shadow of a doubt, one knows the results. And so therefore at that point, it becomes really unwavering. It becomes completely like in an unchanging way, deeply established, like the story of his relative, his uncle, who was tortured and was able to maintain this mind of faith, in the midst of what he was enduring. And so eventually that kind of deep faith gets to the point where that alone actually has the power to purify all of the afflictive emotions in the mind stream. So because of the strength of that faith, then there's not even, the trace of affliction. The 5 poisons are thoroughly purified.
So can I?
Oh, sorry.
Can faith have there's a dynamism?
A what?
A dynamism?
Mm,
I'm not pronouncing that properly. But there's a
dynamism.
faith between the student for the master, but there's also a faith from the master towards the student.
Mhm.
And maybe there's an intersection there. But, you know, the master wouldn't want to waste time on someone who's really not going to be a good vessel. And the one who maybe the student may be looking for some result and not have faith or does have faith in the master. So the point is that there needs to be this relationship between the two.
So the question was sort of like, or in a nutshell, that this importance of kind of the interrelationship between the teacher and student, which is that if the student has faith, in a way it allows the teacher to have faith in the student, because the teacher isn't going to waste time on somebody who is not a worthy vessel, you know, someone who doesn't have any faith. So it does, the faith on the part of the student allows for the commitment of the teacher. So there's there he was just expressing, yes, isn't it the case that there's this importance in the interdependence there?
Yes, and then one more part of that would be that sometimes the student's faith may decrease, but the teacher, the master, recognizes that, and because of his faith, he supports the student in some way.
So
and
then
likewise, it goes the other way. Sometimes the master his faith will decrease, but the student will show to the master, oh yes, I am worthy of doing this.
I think they can hear.
Okay.
Marita tindi ta Ngur wa tami konsiwa na yire ko yina yang ta zo karsina yang ji gegen ke loma la la ta zo karsina re ta theba sidi na ta te zo karsina theba ra samari zamdo ka ichi ndo ji yona tene ko ji tami konsiwa na yire ma ji lame ke loma la ta ya lome ke lama la ta ya se ya tindi Ngur yore tga na yi ke ji lama yin bi na tene 다 로마텔라 노 롱당 마롱 가르치 고당 마 티마고 와지다 제가 슈르비 하고 버리 송도와 코란티 이나베나 추티아텔라 소 라마시아데 케친 보이미 좀 센터를 때는 지 강사 라 때는 티아마토비 긴체미니 추지 파티창 로지 티아데 용구 말이스 베네 페찬 로지는 고다고 다가지 티샤요로데 이나테 강사한테 배 안보라고 안보타마 강하게 제요 말이 이는 라마도 짜친 보이비 좀 센터를 때는 이제 강사한테 주가를 보고 선발하지 되는 거요. 하나 강도 정도 어때? 리더는 보여서 이제 당다데 지
So I said it's mainly, you know, like it's mainly that the Llama has faith in the student kind of irregardless, but the Llama should have the capacity to know what the student needs and at what level they're at, and so you know, for instance, whether the student is a worthy vessel or not, or whether he should teach this or a thing or that thing to the student, the Llama should know. And so it's really, you know, it really depending on the individual, the capacity of the individual, then the Llama teaches the Dharma, you know, according to the capacity. So there should be that ability to discern. And that's actually also why the Llama is so precious, because when you have a text is just written as it is, right? Like, irregardless of like the capacity of the individual, whether it's like, you know, kind of a beginning level capacity or superior capacity, the text is there and it's written regardless. But the Llama has the ability to say, you know, this is the appropriate teaching for where this particular individual is at. And so it shouldn't be that the teachings are always just the same, that they also are based on the capacity of the, you know, that they manifest according to the capacity of the student.
내가 저희한테 배지는 로는 로고였으면. 어디는 이게 어디 페이지 하고 잡소나 페이지 요리스. 아 그런 것도 라마지 요리스가 좀 발달하는 공백 라마지 요리스. 텐디네 딱 그런 소지 딱지 다 따는 라마 들라더니 딱 다녀오는 거지 딱 그런 초초톤에 다녀오인바탕 퍼스널 네 다녀오는 거지 총거리스 그런 상태 다녀오요리스 얘는 양매지 다 고통으로 통요리스 통으로도 라마 때문에 통이라고 그래 라마 그런 직처럼 오지 또 자기 같은데 코티 뭐 상태가 잘안 좋아요 키요래 얘네 대고 텐도베 까블라 테네 코다 통도로 치고요 테네 라마 레비오레스 라마 레 테네 베 보죠 테네 코라베 베모 모노 베자 chambu치 치요레스 얘네 강사직 텔라 테네 다들이 남주로 오는 라마 싹파를 내고를 쓰는 것 같아요. 얘네야 티값라 라마테 근데 사실 심하게 패버렸어. 패버 들어가라. 근데 뭐 통을 열고 되게 잡아냈어. 근데 좀 열었어.
So here's a story. Actually, it's about a lama from one of the monasteries in Drbanla's region in his hometown. And so this student, this lama had kind of a friend, someone that he was very, very close with. And he was from the Tanagompa, which is a Tana monastery. And the lama's name was Togme. And so one time he had this very so there Sumja. Okay, there were 3 people that were kind of like the closest, very, very close, this family that was very close.
Sort of family, not family.
Almost as though they were relatives. And then at one point the lama had this feeling like he really needed to go to this other town where to see a friend in a family in another area, and it happened that actually that friend in another area was dying, so he went.
It is dying.
Yeah, right? Right. The friend in the other area, in the other place was dying. So he went to the bedside of this person and he assisted them through the dying process. He was able to do poa. He was able to do a lot of practice and aspiration prayers for the individual. And it was yet when the friend that was really close to him, I think was it at the same time? That the friend who was actually really
not the same time, but
or at another time when this other friend who was very, very close died, he happened to be away. So it was this interesting thing where he had this feeling like he needed to go, and he was able to go to this other place when this one person was dying and really assist them through that practice, based on this feeling or intuition. And then it just so happened that when like his closest sort of family, or his closest friend who was like family was dying, it just so happened that he was not there. He wasn't able to assist his friend. The lama wasn't there when his friend died. He was somewhere else at the time.
So actually, he's teaching one time. So somebody asked, okay, like for example, this your friends, this Lama Rinpoche, your 2 friends. So people ask, so one friend, your one friend, he died. You just automatically just planning, nothing because, but exactly you be there.
You
just
showed up
connected.
there at
Show
the
up.
time when it was needed.
So what needed? But another friend.
The other friend.
So the same village in the
Even in the same
this
village.
Llama. So Llama left of town somewhere, and he died. So why? It's sort of like questioning to Llama that time. So he's doing teaching time. So the Llama said, yes, we are very, very friends. Friend, we three really friends.
Actually, it was the three of them were good friends. So
Yeah,
now
good
I
friend.
understand the three. Yeah.
But he died, right? So that person, yes, it is friends, maybe little bit less friends the other one, but he have the faith to me, yes, devotion to me. So that's bring the connection, devotion, and faith. So I know planning, I just might feel.
He just had a feeling,
So,
like an intuition.
So that's other guy is really, he think he's really best friend me, best he is. But
they were closest.
Very close, but you don't have faith.
And he thought of him, the other guy thought of him as his best friend, but he didn't have faith.
So that's why. So he's just off, he's not there. So he cannot help. So I say I cannot help him.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I think, what means how working, functioning, fluctuation. So this kind of many examples, so realization. So realization is not take something, from Lama or from whatever Buddha. That's kind of how it works,
It's just how it works.
Mm.
They taking something from the Lama Buddha or Buddha.
They Jitang would take that as a jump on the Chine, Lama, Chicken, and Yomarwa, and Lamela, Chicken, and all Sanji Toyano, Lamea, Chicken, Leando, Yomaris, Lea Jigu Tebaris. The motto Lamena special and the Wujik, not to grow out in Sanji Groa, or Tinido Yosamaris. Lea the Cariore, Kalea Arsena, Ran Fetiuna, Tentacoji Tobaris. Till he lost you with Mopono, the Himbajalaji to Yayomaris.
So sometimes there's this thought that there's something to get, from the Lama, that if you get this thing, then that will lead to your awakening or Buddhahood. But there's nothing to get. The only thing that will enable you to receive anything is faith. So if that's the only sort of special thing that will cause, the receival of the blessings and therefore, the ability for the qualities to develop. Other than that, there's no other method. There's no way to get something. Rebe.
Naroba, Kachin Juni said. Kachin Juni de money trusting to the race. Teba Jigo de Mato Hime, Kaya Naroba Koran Kepayari, Tene, Jikachu no, Tikecha Kayo Matis. That telecasino put Teba Jurando testing the Kachin Juni said Giorwa. That Teba Rama of him, Kayo Mascopeja Kana Chilio Marabeja Signaju. Telobak song me take Naji and Narobaki.
So for instance, when Naropa went through the 12 great hardships, under the kind kind of guidance of Tilopa, what those 12 great hardships were really nothing other than testing, a means to test his faith. It really, the only thing it had anything to do with was faith. It wasn't like he was testing him in other ways, if he had like this or that ability or quality or intelligence or what have you. It really was just faith, it was about whether Naropa really had faith or did not.
That pension ya short sul benefit your lama. Pero cho he di te song do. Ta nyama ji yang kwarani do ni do mu ka la. Ta pe no pe te de da bana ko khamba thombo no ji level your list. Khamba thombo ina ta tha thombo ina te no ji te ne. Ta ji ko ngoni ji te lo ba joking do ro ina. O ngala te ba yo bi lo ma te yo bi ina.
So for instance, and who was received the benefit of that, like, so for instance, there was one day when they were on Tilopa and Naropa were at the top of a tall building, and Tilopa almost joking, or joking.
It looks like joking,
but
not really.
Said, if I had a student who really had faith, they would jump from this building. They would throw themselves from this building.
So then he did jump.
So immediately, without a second thought, Naropa left.
Yine ta Maya Naropa Tilopa yung 가르쳐도 slabdu. Tine 같이 slabdu ta nga kamba chason labgorwa. Slabdu ta kamba ke maris labgorwa. Ke maris you okay.
And so then, when he hit the ground and all of his bones shattered, then Tilopa said, well, what has happened to you? And he said, my legs are broken, my arms are broken. And Tilopa said, it's okay, you didn't die.
In an ordinary person, Kambachana, Pengugro, Dawa, Nguanogro, recovering. But that is so this.
And so, because of the strength of Tilopa's faith, because he didn't have self-grasping, instantaneously he was recovered. He was restored to health. Whereas, somebody like an ordinary person without any faith, if all of the bones in their body were to break, it would take them, months to heal the broken bones.
So I remember my brother. So my brother and son, they walking at
his brother
second
and
floor.
His brother's son.
And they're walking in the second floor. So then my brother said to his son, if you are my son, you can jump. So this son, never just, my brother joking, just sort of joking, like whatever. But son immediately jumped. He break the legs. But that's recovery take time. So some people are sort of joking, just joking. It's just joke, just kind of like whatever.
Did your brother's wife whack him in the head?
I don't know.
Ask that too.
He did.
He can't leave us alone with his kids.
So, that's all kinds of knuckle. But the teenage one. So you have questions?
I still was. I had a question about, I guess, the lexicology, the semiotics of this, like words for faith. You said the two words that you said before, could you explain that again? You
So,
said one you have no literal translation for.
well, I can't think of another word besides faith.
But
So
what-
depa,
if you could say what it means, just.
well,
describe
it's
what
hard.
this-
I will say that one challenge is with translation is that you have to understand that like when I learned Tibetan, I was learning it through English words, right?
Yeah.
So like I can't say, there are some words that as I speak Tibetan more, I really start to be like, oh, this has this completely different meaning, this flavor that doesn't match the English.
Yeah.
But there are some words like I can't say that I necessarily understand completely the meaning of the term depa that in a way that isn't contaminated by the English word faith,
Okay.
because I've always known it to be that equivalent. Does that make sense?
What is the context that it's used in?
I mean, this,
Yeah.
right?
Very-
Yeah. And in the context of like Preston mentioned the three types of faith. So that word depa
Yeah.
is the same word when talking about the three types.
okay.
The
Yeah,
clear
I-
faith,
I wasn't clear on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
if that, so.
당의 대바.
So the first one is what is often translated as clear faith or vivid faith.
Yep.
Mhm.
전에 what is 당의 대바, 노비 대바.
Longing faith.
Vivitan.
Or maybe there's another way. Sometimes is it something else? I don't know. I usually say
Ikibiteba.
longing faith and confident faith or
다
believing.
뒤에 가르치는 뒤에 다 노비 대바 세야디
Mhm.
당길라 인바 reason nga 타와타 진도 공부 톱부터 보고도 삼바 찍당 그가 나기 그 추지 그 벨룬도 하고니 근데 이게 노비 대바라고
So the longing faith is really actually based on longing for awakening. So it's like the longing of like, I must reach the state of liberation and awakening. And so it's this longing to be free from samsara, the longing to fully awaken. And it's based on understanding the value of the Dharma. So that's what the
Okay.
longing faith is.
It's almost like the passion of the Catholic saints or something.
I mean, I don't know that I would fully equate the two. I'm sure there are similarities there, but didn't pen a Catholic the young Drong song da wo yorwa didn't kong so dupa depa dupa dang nyam do yo bagi depa shuk chambu yore di dang da wo rebe.
다 너로 왔지
Yeah, it is similar.
쿠션으로 대바 유럽에는
Mhm,
답변에 이 기획 요리 대바 요리 대비 팽기로 야야 팽기리 거랑
mhm,
제당에서 섬노 방비는 지 단다디 되는 거 히당원이 고지슈 추로야 뭐 대바 요면 뒤도 대바 요면 소라지 고 코나코나 컨피덴트하고 지 연구도 한 같은 게 사실 기획에 상관하고 정말 좋은 거 말이서도 그 뒤기 대비 또게 그 얘기를
So yeah, he said actually you can, and actually this is important because what I just received from what he said is that it's maybe not such a huge problem that there's this, that the term is the same, because of course it is the same thing to some extent, and that he said that for those, whoever has that mind of deep faith, there's benefit irregardless of the object. And so, for there are many in other religions, other traditions who have tremendous faith, and that faith brings them blessings and they experience benefit from that faith. So whoever, when there's that complete trust and surrender and full faith, like seeing, this total with a mind of total reliance and refuge, seeing the object of the faith as really pure and being free from faults, then there is benefit that comes from that. There is blessings, like in whatever, regardless of whatever spiritual tradition or
That makes
religion.
sense. Makes a lot of sense. Kind of like placebo.
But the word longing seems like a graspy word.
Duba yang pena ducha gi zimba yoba gi yang tesa kimsa do marebe.
말이 갈색이라 이바 같은 거다. 계획 초도비나 군단 zemban도 요난 되기요와. 베니나 다군 zem바텔라 계획 초도라 나도 숨 조르는 무슨 다도 숨 소사 탐게히 성도 베는 거 계획 레치고나 니치고요 삼반도 오지다. 그가 나이가 상제 고모토 보고도 삼반. 니 김바 당긴 삼반. 니 주템 중긴 또 당이 개바치도 오지. 삼나 Pejman the space.
That one I think you have to repeat the.
Oh, okay. So the question was, with the word longing, the doesn't longing sound like graspy? And so he said, well, actually, especially to begin with, you know, it is beneficial to have, if you're going to have a grasping mind, to have the grasping be in virtue or grasping to virtue. So if there is grasping there, it's okay, relatively speaking. So there is skillful method in that, because what you're longing for, what you're grasping for, is freedom from samsara and awakening. And so it's like what he mentioned the other day when Lord Jigten Sumgön says that there is the skillful use of bringing the I into like what your aspirations are when it is wedded with virtue. So for instance, saying, may I attain awakening, may I reach the state of Buddhahood, I will practice virtue, I will practice ethical discipline, and having kind of this this longing or this inspiration that is connected with the self, but it is directed toward purity and virtue.
Questions from online?
Mm-hmm.
The first one from yesterday, is there anything to do to consecrate the bumba, the saffron water?
따뜻한 것은 남주도 있는 사실 water로 지난 되기 요래 이나 지용차네 지 pombarduria 요래스 pombardu리아다 남자마 디 유랭스티니 돕난 되기 요래스 말마스 구소리 나 유랭스 남자마 티니 고지 땅가서 지 얄라만도 지 튜치야 와나야 저선도 있나 가서 pombardu리 요래스 이나야 다제가서 pombar 페주치야 달라 다 믹세 지 두야케 룩소도 요 말이스 이나야 가서 단다디 강리 지 예다르마 tena ngajin dong ro go ngajin dong gre ti mundu na nga wan nga ta yedarma ta to ke conspiration automatically chin do yo des ina mixe ki ta nga pa savelo ta nga pa plugin se at mi ko go windows inda pa na wa ma ya do lama do ji tu chi ya do ina ita bring mini conspiration do go.
So it depends on the context, but there are kind of specific like vase consecration, Bumba consecration practices, but they're really only necessary, you know, for like lamas when they're doing cleansing, when they're doing using the vase for empowerment. There's specifically like an Ushnisha Vijaya like consecration ritual, which is done, but that isn't necessary when you're just using the vase in other contexts. So there's not like any special thing that you need to do to consecrate it. However, as he mentioned, like in the morning, when you do also use the vase water to bless the offerings, you also are reciting those mantras, the vowels and the Sanskrit vowels and consonants, the Yadharma mantra, the increasing mantras, the multiplying mantras. And so those mantras actually also function to consecrate the vase water. So other than that, there's, you know, you just make sure that there's saffron water in the vase, and other than that, there isn't any special thing to be done.
In the Tibetan astrology or calendar, there are days said to be better for certain practices. should this be considered when deciding when to begin a retreat? Are there auspicious days to begin a retreat? Good question.
다치타 지리나 레 티베테나 드네 지 투투 야보다가 드네 지 full 10th 25th 다 틴다마나 여러와 티니도 지나 고만데가 요마레스 데그레스 이내야 다 조지야 3대야로 트리나 이내 3대야다 개와도야 이내 딜레도 만도네 야요레 좀도 지츠밀레 카르사나 추 태종 나한테는 나치스 나세다 추치야디 쇼키 치고서나 쇼키랑 치호스 저런 공다 추치고서나 공다랑 치호스 텔레체랑 사가마 칸타고만 저런디 뭐니 아스페시스 데이트 카치나 아추 치고 삼 투티 티니마텔네 뭐니 아스페시스 차디오레스 Can 텔레지 딜레치야요 말이죠. 인다지 그 플렉시블 로트니나 그 세랑다는 되기로 그랬어.
So in general, there are, of course, according to Tibetan astrology, there are, different kind of auspicious times, to do important things like full new moon, the 10th, the 25th of the lunar month. So, it's okay to, plan your retreat beginning on an auspicious day. But in general, it is said that when it comes to retreat, or when it comes to practicing virtue in general, it is really most important not to delay the start, to just to do it. In fact, Jetson Milarepa says, if you think to do it in the morning, do it in the morning. If you think to do it at night, do it at night, or in the evening. You don't need to look for special dates and positions of planets and stars, because whenever you have the thought to do virtue, then that itself is auspicious. So that becomes an auspicious time. However, if you have some flexibility and that, it's not going to make a big difference to wait, a couple of days to start on the auspicious day, you can do it that way. But if it's going to actually significantly shorten your retreat or delay your retreat, then you shouldn't pay attention to those things.
다 디니티지 책직대 가리스나 다 조가스나 대바세야지도와 이치세야 다 대가세야지 대와 강야면 요데 말이스 대바치 이치지라고 말다 조 대바 이치세야디 중공 짜와로 들라 가르사면 방고스나 가디친부이 삼바지고
Also, something to mention is that, when we talk about faith and trust, there is one very, and this maybe helps with the definition of the term too. One really defining characteristic there, and that is that your faith is coming from really seeing and appreciating the kindness of the object of your faith. So really seeing them as the source of so much kindness.
어떻게 밴도 차샤비나다 카티니까 지리라나 제탕마도 공슈가나이 지겐디나나다 로바칭에 몽보지 요리 디나야 뭐네 담비 추네 뭐네 냠는지 센서를 지리나 뭐니 용모바다 담비 봐 좀지 뭐니 내가 담바지 토부요 그때 젠도 지라 젠기비 인연 라리디오스 티카디시 탱고요스.
And so if you really think about it, and the reason for this is that, when it comes to worldly companions, friends, loved ones, relatives, there are many ways that many people express kindness to us or have shown us kindness. But when it comes to the authentic Dharma, there is no kindness that surpasses that, because that really is the source of becoming free from the torment of the afflictive emotions, and really, arriving at the state of awakening. And so there's really no greater expression of kindness than the kindness of the spiritual teacher who provides those methods to become free from the afflictions.
제가 나이 테네다 페노 선노 땅비는 유바 해야기도 와. 뭐네 산이 dimden데 로니 통 아비고란 도리 기나요. 강 유와 산쯤데 강송화데 제가 나이 냠len치 로종치 다 바로 단다야 유와데 당원이 가리친 보고. 드리지 삼모방고.
And so, in the same way, that to appreciate or recollect the kindness of the Buddha. However, the Buddha who lived 2,500 years ago, and so we don't even have, the ability to actually be in the presence of the Buddha and experience, and receive his instructions directly. But so it is through the representation of the Buddha, which appears in the form of the spiritual teacher, through which we have the ability to connect with the Buddha's teachings, to engage in practice and study, here and now, even when the Buddha is no longer living. So in that way, it is said that the spiritual teacher, the kindness of the spiritual teacher is even greater than that of the Buddha, because the spiritual teacher is present.
뭐 제가 나이 땅 어서 지가 상지 탭로 이제 뭐 스토리지 배 로니 통은 야대와 텐딘도 말이스 텔레양 보라 뭐니 찬이 빼다 가장 보니 텔레 토바치 텔레 삼바치 텔레 bombachi 텔레양 보라다 냠뇽 찌네 깔레 빼다 휴지 깔레 잡네 중대죠 지레스
The depth storage tube.
다 탭로 이제 야대와 오이나 지금 말이스 탭로 오이나 또 녜기 탭이냐 나 히로 지기 니 부위달 샤 부위 탭냐 탭이냐 대와 로니 통냐 대와 말이스
and it isn't like, when we, so for instance, it's not like the Buddha's teachings, like the scriptures, or the books, are just like sort of stored, and passed down through generations. So like, I have, my great grandfather had the books and then gives them to his son, and then then he gives them to his son, and so forth. And so there, it's like the book is passed, from generation to generation, but it's just like stored, it's a book that's stored. So it's not like that, but actually what the spiritual teacher carries is a living transmission, a living lineage based on, actual, hearing, contemplation, and meditation. And so therefore, through that, having, remained alive, throughout the generations of practice, then what the spiritual teacher carries is this living lineage, this living transmission. What are they?
So during the cultural revolution, so there's, I think, almost 30 years, right? So in Tibet, there's no Dharma.
For 30 years.
Single, one piece of the mantra,
There,
or
no sign of Dharma.
Right, no sign, like one single, like I said, piece of paper.
Not even a tiny little piece of
Tiny,
paper with
like,
Dharma written on it.
Cannot see any object in entire Tibet.
You wouldn't be able to find a single object in the entirety of Tibet.
So and also like practice. You know, the looking people, or what they're doing, maybe this move something more.
So if people were even moving their lips,
then the
you
trouble,
know, they're in
beating
trouble.
them and put to jail.
Like reciting mantra.
So this
Yeah.
situation like 30 years, right? And then, so after 30 years, so I see my own, you know, eyes. So then this 82 or 80, yeah, 82, I think 82. So slowly got better. So, but one time, I think 82 or 83, I think 82, end of 82. So used to monk, you know, so then together, so actually monastery.
The people who used to be monks prior to the Cultural Revolution came together. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So in the monastery, so my monastery, only the lot, 3 houses. So before like, I think 450 monks' houses.
Like,
So, but only they have 3 lots.
there were only three buildings left,
Or 3 houses. So
dwellings.
So that time is then all the hundreds, one time. So hundreds people come. They try to circumambulation. There's no house, no monastery, no statue, but just people are gathering, coming. And so, and then one day, I remember, so each house, so like gathering maybe like sort of maybe 6, 7, 10 monks used to monk, you know. Together.
Those who used to be monks.
Right. And then the one day at beginning, I was there. So then they discussed, okay, maybe we do something practice. Okay. So yeah, sure. Yeah, we do something today. It's like, yeah, now it's like, okay, you know, just some practice, you know, sadhana, whatever. Then they discuss, you know, something, okay, which one we use. So then decided something, you know, sadhana or like hito or
the peaceful and
practice,
wrathful days.
something that. And then, okay, they start. Oh, who's chant leader? Oh, yeah, you do chant leader. And then that's it. So they keep like
They all
no
knew
tax, nothing, zero, but the chanting. Go through like everybody. So that's musters this, you know.
Meaning,
keep. Otherwise, like if those people didn't keep, gone, no dharma. In the Tibet, no dharma. Then yes, welcome no dharma. You know.
So after 30 years, they still had memorized these long practices and were able to chant them together because they had kept them in their heart.
So that time's not zero object, you know, no bells, no symbols, no like
no text,
statue, no text, nothing, only person. They did. So that's we need to count, you know.
So that's when we think about the kindness. That's
right.
What's meant by kind.
So we education.
By the virtues collected in the 3 times, by myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Dragungpa Ratna Shri, who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, Master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want some of us to go into the Asian buffet if you would like to join us, or Mamaji's made dinner already?
he's working. Okay, so okay, we see.
Stay.
That's a maybe.
Maybe.
What is our evening session consist of?
So we begin at set from 7 to 9, and it's just continued teachings, right, on Guru Yoga.
Yeah, we're talking about faith, devotion.
We'll have some buildings you guys to leap off of. So anybody would like to.
Thank you so much.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you, James, for bright us on online. Thank you so much.